أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Surah 13, Ar-Rad, Thunder, Meccan period. Title. The title of this surah is derived from verse 13, which states that Ar-Rad, thunder, celebrates Allah's praise and holiness, and the angels too, for awe of Him. It is obvious that the choices of Ar-Rad, thunder, for the title of the surah does not signify that the surah discusses the phenomenon of thunder. Here, as elsewhere, the title mainly serves the purpose of distinguishing one surah from another. Period of revelation. A perusal of verses 27 and 38 indicates that the surah was revealed around the same period when surahs Yunus, Hud, and Al-Araf were revealed. In other words, the present surah was revealed in the last period of the Prophet's life in Mecca. The contents of the surah clearly indicate that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had by then spent quite a long time inviting people to Islam. During this period, his enemies resorted to a wide variety of stratagems, both to hurt him and to frustrate his mission. As a result of this continued hostility, the situation had become so grave that the Muslims wished that some miracle were performed that would enable their compatriots to perceive and embrace the truth. In this context, God explains to the Muslims that He does not direct people to the right way in that manner. He also explains that if God allows the unbelievers to go their own way for a while, leaving them unpunished, this does not warrant Muslims losing heart and throwing up their hands in despair. Verse 31 of the surah suggests that the unbelievers had continuously rejected the truth out of their sheer adamance, and that they had reached such a stage of obstinacy that even if the dead rose from their graves and spoke to them, they would still have found some pretext to evade acceptance of the truth. All these bits and pieces of internal evidence suggest that the surah must have been revealed in the last phase of the Meccan period of the Prophet's life. Subject matter. The opening verse of the surah sets out its theme. It unequivocally declares that the teaching of Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the truth, and those who do not believe in it are clearly in error. This theme permeates the whole surah. In a variety of ways, the discourse focuses on showing the truth of Islam's major doctrines: God's unity, the hereafter, and prophethood. The moral and spiritual benefits occurring from belief in these truths are explained, and the disadvantages which ensue from rejecting them are also set out in detail. The surah also demonstrates that unbelief is tantamount to sheer stupidity and ignorance. The purpose of the discourse is not confined to merely pursuing people intellectually. It also aims to create in people the impulse to embrace the truth. The invitation to the truth has not simply been made on the basis of logical reasoning and argumentation. An appeal to the hearts of people is also made, and in a variety of ways. They are warned about God's severe chastisement if they reject the truth, and are promised rich rewards if they believe in the truth and act righteously. Earnest appeals emanating from sympathy and compassionate concern are made to people to give up their obduracy and embrace the true faith. In the course of the discourse, the objections against Islam that were commonly made by its opponents are refuted without specifically mentioning any of them. Similarly, the doubts that people themselves entertained or which the opponents of Islam put in their minds regarding Islam are removed. Special attention is also paid to men of faith. A word of consolation and encouragement is offered to them, for after a prolonged period of strenuous struggle, they were on the verge of exhaustion and had begun to look for divine intervention and support.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate.
Alif Lam Mim Ra. Tilka ayatul kitab والذي أنزل إليك من ربك الحق ولكن أكثر الناس لا يؤمنون.
Alif, Lam, Mim, Ra. These are the verses of the divine book. Whatever has been revealed to you from your Lord is the truth. and yet most of your people do not believe.
الله الذي رفع السماوات بغير عمد ترونها ثم استوى على العرش وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري لأجل مسمى يدبر الأمر يفصل الآيات لعلكم بلقاء ربكم توقنون.
It is Allah who has raised the heavens without any supports that you could see, and then He established Himself on the throne of dominion. And He it is who has made the sun and the moon subservient to a law, each running its course till an appointed term. He governs the entire order of the universe and clearly explains the signs that you may be firmly convinced about meeting your Lord. It is Allah who has raised the heavens without any supports that you could see.
In other words, the heavens were raised without anything perceptible to support them. There is nothing tangible in space which holds the virtual infinite number of heavenly bodies together. Nevertheless, there is a force, an imperceptible one, which keeps each heavenly body exactly where it belongs and regulates its orbit. This force also prevents these immense bodies from colliding with the earth or with each other,
and clearly explains the signs that
there are many signs which indicate that the information about the ultimate truths provided by the Prophet, peace be upon him, is indeed fully reliable. If one looks around with open eyes, there are innumerable signs spread across the heavens and the earth which testify to the truths which the Quran invites people to accept.
وهو الذي مد الأرض وجعل فيها رواسي وأنهارا ومن كل الثمرات جعل فيها زوجين اثنين يغشي الليل النهار إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون.
He, it is who, has stretched out the earth and has placed in it firm mountains and has caused the rivers to flow. He has made every fruit in pairs, 2 and 2. And He, it is who, causes the night to cover the day. Surely there are signs in these for those who reflect.
وفي الأرض قطع متجاورات وجنات من أعناب وزرع ونخيل صنوان وغير صنوان يسقى بماء واحد ونفضل بعضها على بعض في الأكل إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون.
And on earth there are many tracts of land neighboring each other. There are on it vineyards and sown fields and date palms, some growing in clusters from one root, some standing alone. They are irrigated by the same water, and yet we make some excel others in taste. Surely there are signs in these for a people who use their reason.
وَإِن تَعْجَبْ فَعَجَبٌ قَوْلُهُمْ أَإِذَا كُنَّا تُرَابًا أَإِنَّا لَفِي خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ أُولَئِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَئِكَ الْأَغْلَالُ فِي أعناقهم وأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون.
And were you to wonder, then wondrous indeed is the saying of those who say, What? After we have been reduced to dust, shall we be created afresh? They are the ones who disbelieved in their Lord. They are the ones who shall have shackles around their necks. They shall be the inmates of the fire, wherein they will abide forever. They are the ones who disbelieved in their Lord.
The unbeliever's denial of the afterlife amounts to denying God, to denying His power, and to denying His wisdom. For they do not simply call into question that human beings will be resurrected. Implicit in their rejection of the afterlife is the idea that God either lacks the power to create human beings afresh or the wisdom to recognize the need to do so.
They are the ones who shall have shackles around their necks.
The Quranic statement, "They are the ones who shall have shackles around their necks," means that they are prisoners of their ignorance and obduracy, prisoners of their lusts, and prisoners of uncritical adherence to their ancestral ways. It is because of all this that they have become incapable of thinking independently. They are too strongly bound by their prejudices to appreciate that the hereafter is inevitable. They continue to deny it despite the fact that reason and common sense require that the present life be followed by another.
وَيَسْتَعْجِلُونَكَ بِالسَّيِّئَةِ قَبْلَ الْحَسَنَةِ وَقَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمُ الْمَثُلَاتِ وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَذُو مَغْفِرَةٍ لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى ظُلْمِهِمْ وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَشَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ.
They challenge you to hasten the coming of evil upon them before the coming of any good, although people who followed a like course before had met with exemplary punishment from Allah. Verily, your Lord is forgiving to mankind despite all their wrongdoing. Verily, your Lord is also severe in retribution before the coming of any good.
That is, they are demanding that God's chastisement might hastily smite them.
وَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ آيَةٌ مِّن رَّبِّهِ إِنَّمَا أَنتَ مُنذِرٌ وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ.
Those who refuse to believe in you say, "Why has no miraculous sign been sent down upon him from his Lord?" You are only a warner, and every people has its guide.
الله يعلم ما تحمل كل أنثى وما تغيض الأرحام وما تزداد وكل شيء عنده بمقدار.
Allah knows what every female bears and what the wombs fall short of in gestation and what they may add. With Him, everything is in a fixed measure.
عالم الغيب والشهادة الكبير المتعال.
He knows both what is hidden and what is manifest. He is the Supreme One, the Most High.
سواء منكم من أسر القول ومن جهر به ومن هو مستخف بالليل وسارب بالنهار.
It is all the same for him whether any of you says a thing secretly or says it loudly, and whether one hides oneself in the darkness of night or struts about in broad daylight.
له معقبات من بين يديه ومن خلفه يحفظونه من أمر الله إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم وإذا أراد الله بقوم سوءا فلا مرد له وما لهم من دونه
There are guardians over everyone, both before him and behind him, who guard him by Allah's command. Verily, Allah does not change a people's condition unless they change their inner selves. And when Allah decides to make a people suffer punishment, no one can avert it, nor can any be of help to such a people against Allah.
هو الذي يريكم البرق خوفا وطمعا وينشئ السحاب الثقال.
He it is who causes you to see lightning that inspires you with both fear and hope, and he it is who whips up heavy clouds.
ويسبح الرعد بحمده والملائكة من خيفته ويرسل الصواعق فيصيب بها من يشاء وهم يجادلون في الله وهو شديد المحال.
The thunder celebrates His praise and holiness, and the angels too celebrate His praise for awe of Him. He hurls thunderbolts, striking with them whom He wills while they are engaged in disputation concerning Allah. He is mighty in His contriving. The thunder celebrates His praise and holiness. The thunder of the clouds shows that it is God who causes the winds to blow, vapors to rise, heavy clouds to accumulate, the lightning to flash, and the clouds to bring about the downpour which provides His creatures with water. All this shows that God's wisdom and power are absolute, that He is perfect and free from all defect, that none shares with Him in His Godhead. For those who are not appreciative of their distinct humanity, and thus look upon the thunder in the manner of brutes, hold that thunder is no more than a deafening sound from the clouds. But those who have ears that are capable of heeding the truth, realize that thunder proclaims God's unity.
له دعوة الحق والذين يدعون من دونه لا يستجيبون لهم بشيء إلا كباسط كفيه إلى الماء ليبلغ فاه وما هو ببالغه وما دعاء الكافرين إلا في ضلال.
To Him alone should all prayer be addressed, for those to whom they do address their prayers beside Him are altogether powerless to respond to them. The example of praying to any other than Allah is that of a man who stretches out his hands to water, asking it to reach his mouth. Although water has no power to reach his mouth, the prayers of the unbelievers are a sheer waste. To Him alone should all prayer be addressed. To address all prayer to God signifies one's calling upon God to come to one's aid. People ought to do so because the power needed to fulfill man's purpose and to remove his difficulties and distress lies with God alone. Hence, it is quite appropriate to address all prayers to Him and to Him alone.
وَلِلَّهِ يَسْجُدُ مَن فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ طَوْعًا وَكَرْهًا وَظِلَالُهُم بِالْغُدُوِّ وَالْآصَالِ.
All that is in the heavens and the earth prostrates itself, whether willingly or by force, before Allah, and so do their shadows in the morning and in the evening, whether willingly or by force, before Allah. Prostration refers to bowing down in obeisance, to carrying out a command, and to lowering oneself in submission to someone. And so do their shadows in the morning and in the evening. The prostration of shadows before God refers to the falling of the shadows on the earth, to the west in the morning and in the afternoon to the east. This symbolizes the subjection of those objects to God's will and command.
قل من رب السماوات والأرض قل الله قل أفاتخذتم من دونه أولياء لا يملكون لأنفسهم أنفسهم نفعا ولا ضرا قل هل يستوي الأعمى والبصير أم هل تستوي الظلمات والنور أم جعلوا لله شركاء خلقوا كخلقه فتشابه الخلق عليهم قل الله خالق كل شيء وهو الواحد القهار.
Ask them, who is the Lord of the heavens and the earth? Say, Allah. Tell them, have you taken beside Him as your patrons those who do not have the power to benefit or to hurt even themselves? Say, can the blind and the seeing be deemed equals? Or can light and darkness be deemed equals? If that is not so, then have those whom they associate with Allah in His divinity ever created anything like what Allah did, so that the question of creation has become dubious to them? Say, Allah is the creator of everything. He is the one, the irresistible.
أنزل من السماء ماء فسالت أودية بقدرها فاحتمل السيل زبدا رابيا ومما يوقدون عليه في النار ابتغاء حلية أو متاع زبد مثله كذلك يضرب الله الحق والباطل فأما الزبد فيذهب جفاء وأما ما ينفع الناس فيمكث في الأرض كذلك يضرب الله الأمثال.
Allah sends down water from the heavens, and the riverbeds flow, each according to its measure, and the torrent carries along a swelling scum. In like manner, from that metal which they smelt in the fire to make ornaments and utensils, there arises scum like it. Thus does Allah depict truth and falsehood. As for the scum, it passes away as dross, but that which benefits mankind abides on the earth. Thus does Allah explain the truth through examples.
للذين استجابوا لربهم الحسنى والذين لم يستجيبوا له لو أن لهم ما في الأرض جميعا ومثله معه لافتدوا به أولئك لهم سوء الحساب ومأواهم جهنم وبئس المهاد.
There is good reward for those who respond to the call of their Lord, and those who do not respond to their Lord. A time will come when they shall offer all they have, even if they have all the riches of the world and the like of it, besides to redeem themselves from the chastisement of Allah. They will be subjected to a severe reckoning, and hell shall be their refuge. What a wretched resting place it is.
أفمن يعلم أنما أنزل إليك من ربك الحق كمن هو أعمى إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب.
He who knows that the book which has been sent to you from your Lord is the truth, is he like him who is blind to that truth? It is only people of understanding who take heed.
الذين يوفون بعهد الله ولا ينقضون الميثاق.
Those who fulfill their covenant with Allah and do not break their compact after firmly confirming it.
والذين يصلون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويخشون ويخشون ربهم ويخافون سوء الحساب.
Who join together the ties which Allah has bidden to be joined, who fear their Lord and dread lest they are subjected to severe reckoning.
والذين صبروا ابتغاء وجه ربهم وأقاموا الصلاة وأنفقوا مما رزقناهم سرا وعلانية ويدرؤون بالحسنة السيئة أولئك لهم عقبى الدار.
Who are steadfast in seeking the good pleasure of their Lord, who establish prayer and spend both secretly and openly out of the wealth we have provided them, and who ward off evil with good. Theirs shall be the ultimate abode.
جنات عدن يدخلونها ومن صلح من آبائهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم والملائكة يدخلون عليهم من كل باب.
The everlasting gardens which they shall enter, and so shall the righteous from among their fathers and their spouses and their offspring. And angels shall enter unto them from every gate and say,
سلام عليكم بما صبرتم فنعم عقبى الدار.
Peace be upon you. You merit this reward for your steadfastness. How excellent is the ultimate abode.
والذين ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك لهم اللعنة ولهم سوء الدار.
As for those who break the covenant of Allah after firmly confirming it, who cut asunder the ties that Allah has commanded to be joined, and who create corruption in the land, Allah's curse shall be upon them, and theirs shall be a wretched abode in the hereafter.
الله يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء ويقدر وفرحوا بالحياة الدنيا وما الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا متاع.
Allah grants the provision to whomsoever He wills abundantly, and grants others in strict measure. They exult in the life of the world, although compared with the hereafter, the life of the world is no more than temporary enjoyment.
ويقول الذين كفروا لولا أنزل عليه آية من ربه قل إن الله يضل من يشاء ويهدي إليه من أناب.
Those who have rejected the message of Muhammad, peace be upon him, say, why has no sign been sent down upon from his Lord? Tell them, Allah lets go astray those whom He wills, and guides to Himself those who turn to Him.
الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب.
Such are the ones who believe in the message of the Prophet, and whose hearts find rest in the remembrance of Allah. Surely, in Allah's remembrance do hearts find rest.
الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات طوبى لهم وحسن مآب.
So those who believe in the message of the truth and do good are destined for happiness and a blissful end.
كذلك أرسلناك في أمة قد خلت من قبلها أمم لتتلو عليهم الذي أوحينا إليك وهم يكفرون بالرحمن قل هو ربي لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وإليه متاب.
Thus, we have sent you as a messenger to a community before which many other communities have passed away, that you may recite to them whatever we have revealed to you. And yet they deny the Lord of mercy. Say to them, He is my Lord, there is no God but Him. In Him I have placed all my trust, and to Him I shall return. Thus, we have sent you as a messenger.
That is to say that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was sent without any signs of the kind which the unbelievers had asked for.
ولو أن قرآنا سيرت به الجبال أو قطعت به الأرض أو كلم به الموتى بل لله الأمر جميعا أفلم ييأس الذين آمنوا أن لو يشاء الله لهدى الناس جميعا ولا يزال الذين كفروا تصيبهم بما صنعوا قارعة أو تحل قريبا من دارهم حتى يأتي وعد الله إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد.
And what would have happened were a Quran to be revealed wherewith mountains could be set in motion, or the earth cleft, or the dead made to speak? To show such signs is not at all difficult, for everything rests entirely with Allah. So do not, the people of faith, still look forward to such a sign in response to the demand of the unbelievers, and despair as a result of knowing that had Allah so willed, He could have guided all to the truth. Misfortune continues to afflict the unbelievers on account of their misdeeds, or to befall on locations close to their habitation. This will continue until Allah's promise of chastisement is fulfilled. Indeed, Allah does not go back upon His promise. Everything rests entirely with Allah.
The true reason for not showing miraculous signs was not that God had no power to do so, but because this was inconsistent with God's scheme of things. For the true purpose of that scheme was not so much to drive some people into affirming the prophethood of some prophet, but to help them attain true guidance. Such a purpose can only be achieved by reforming people's outlook and reorienting their thinking pattern.
He could have guided all to the truth.
Had the purpose merely been that people should believe without understanding and without being rationally convinced, then perhaps God did not have to show miraculous signs. That purpose could have been achieved by simply creating all human beings as born believers.
وَلَقَدِ اسْتُهْزِئَ بِرُسُلٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَأَمْلَيْتُ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا ثُمَّ أَخَذْتُهُمْ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ عِقَابِ.
Surely, the messengers before you were ridiculed, but I always initially granted respite to those who disbelieved, and then I seized them with chastisement. Then, how awesome was my chastisement!
أَفَمَنْ هُوَ قَائِمٌ عَلَى كُلِّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ وجعلوا لله شركاء قل سموهم أم تنبئونه بما لا يعلم في الأرض أم بظاهر من القول بل زين للذين كفروا مكرهم وصدوا عن السبيل ومن يضلل الله فما له من هاد.
Is it, then, in regard to him who watches over the deeds of every person, that they are acting blasphemously by setting up his associates? Tell them, name those associates if Allah himself has made them his associates. Or are you informing Allah of something the existence of which he does not even know? Or do people arbitrarily utter empty words? Indeed, their foul contriving has been made to seem fair to the unbelievers, and they have been barred from finding the right way. Whomsoever Allah lets go astray will have none to guide him. Their foul contriving has been made to seem fair to the unbelievers. The association of others with God in His divinity by the unbelievers has been branded as a foul contriving. For the celestial bodies or angels or spirits or saints, which are said to be God's associates in His attributes, powers, and rights, have never made any such claims. They do not ask the unbelievers to worship or bow down before them. It is merely a contriving of some unscrupulous human beings who, in order to establish their own control over ordinary people and to usurp their earnings, have invented false gods and have misled people into becoming their devotees. This enabled them to exploit people under the claim that they were the authorized representatives of those so-called gods.
لهم عذاب في الحياة الدنيا ولعذاب الآخرة أشق وما لهم من الله من واق.
They shall suffer chastisement in the life of the world. And surely the chastisement of the hereafter is even more grievous. None has the power to shield them from the chastisement of Allah.
مثل الجنة التي وعد المتقون تجري من تحتها الأنهار أكلها دائم وظلها تلك عقبى الذين اتقوا وعقبى الكافرين النار.
And such will be the paradise promised to the God-fearing. Rivers will flow beneath it, its fruits will be eternal, and so will be its blissful shade. That is the ultimate destiny of the God-fearing, while fire is the destiny of the unbelievers.
والذين آتيناهم الكتاب يفرحون بما أنزل إليك ومن الأحزاب من ينكر بعضه قل إنما أمرت أن أعبد الله ولا أشرك به إليه أدعو وإليه مآب.
Those upon whom we bestowed the scriptures earlier rejoice at the book revealed to you, while there are also some among different groups that reject part of it. Tell them, I have only been commanded to serve Allah and not to associate anyone with Him. To Him do I call, and to Him is my return.
وكذلك أنزلناه حكما عربيا ولئن اتبعت أهواءهم بعدما جاءك من العلم ما لك من الله من ولي ولا واق.
And it is with the same directive that we reveal to you this Arabic writ. Were you indeed to follow the vain desires of people after the true knowledge has come to you, none will be your supporter against Allah, and none will have the power to shield you from His punishment.
وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِّن قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً وَمَا كَانَ لِرَسُولٍ أَن يَأْتِيَ بِآيَةٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ لِكُلِّ أَجَلٍ كِتَابٌ.
We indeed sent many messengers before you, and we gave them wives and children. And no messenger had the power to produce a miraculous sign except by the command of Allah. Every age has its own revealed book, and we gave them wives and children.
This is the answer to another objection hurled at the Prophet, peace be upon him. The unbelievers decried him for being one like ordinary mortals, insofar as his life was also encumbered with such worldly concerns as those relating to spouse and children. They were at a loss to appreciate how someone was God's messenger who could also have the sexual urge that would prompt him to marry, whereas the Quraysh prided themselves on being the descendants of the prophets Abraham and Ishmael, peace be upon them.
يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ وَعِندَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ.
Allah effaces whatever He wills and retains whatever He wills. With Him is the mother of the book.
With Him is the mother of the book. The expression al-Kitab, mother of the book, which occurs in the verse, refers to that original book which is the source of all heavenly scriptures.
وَإِمَّا نُرِيَنَّكَ بَعْضَ الَّذِي نَعِدُهُمْ أَوْ نَتَوَفَّيَنَّكَ فَإِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ وَعَلَيْنَا الْحِسَابُ.
O Prophet, whether we make you see a part of the punishment that we have threatened them with come to pass during your lifetime, or we take you away before that happens, your duty is no more than to convey the message, and it is for us to make a reckoning.
أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّا نَأْتِي الْأَرْضَ نَنْقُصُهَا مِنْ أَطْرَافِهَا وَاللَّهُ يَحْكُمُ لَا مُعَقِّبَ لِحُكْمِهِ وَهُوَ سَرِيعُ الْحِسَابِ.
Do they not see that we are advancing in the land, diminishing it by its borders on all sides? Allah judges, and no one has the power to reverse His judgment. He is swift in reckoning, diminishing it by its borders on all sides.
The opponents are reminded that Islam's influence was spreading to every nook and cranny of Arabia. This naturally meant the shrinking of the unbelievers' influence and the growing pressure upon them. Did these facts not indicate that they were heading towards their doom? What God says here viz, we are advancing in the land, is a very subtle and refined way of indicating the direction of the change which was then taking place. Since Islam is from God, who supports the propounders of that message, the spread of Islam has been characterized as the advance of God Himself.
وَقَدْ مَكَرَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَلِلَّهِ الْمَكْرُ جَمِيعًا يَعْلَمُ مَا تَكْسِبُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ وَسَيَعْلَمُ الْكُفَّارُ لِمَنْ عُقْبَى الدَّارِ.
Those who lived before them also devised many a plot, but the master plot rests with Allah. He knows what everyone does. The deniers of the truth will soon come to know whose end is good.
وَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَسْتَ مُرْسَلًا قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ وَمَنْ عِندَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ.
The unbelievers claim that you have not been sent by Allah. Tell them, Allah is sufficient as a witness between me and you, and so also do those who know the scriptures.